The deep blue void. The satellite phone crackled to life at 3:47 a.m., pulling Dr. Sarah Chen from a fitful sleep in her cramped bunk aboard the research vessel Meridian. She knew before answering that it wouldn't be good news. Good news didn't come at this hour, not out here, 200 miles from the nearest landmass in the Philippine Trench. Chen. Her voice was rough with sleep. Sarah, it's Marcus. We've got a problem with the habitat. She was already swinging her legs out of bed, the cold metal floor shocking her awake. What kind of problem? Communication blackout. 37 minutes ago. Her blood went cold. For people were down there, living in a pressurized habitat module 800 feet below the surface, part of a month-long deep-sea research project. 37 minutes without contact was an eternity. I'm on my way to the bridge. The Meridian creaked and swayed as Sarah made her way through the narrow corridors, emergency lighting casting everything in harsh red shadows. The weather had been deteriorating all evening, a tropical depression spinning up from the south, waves already reaching 12 feet. Marcus Reeves stood at the communications console, his dark skin gleaming with sweat despite the air conditioning. At 62, he was the expedition's technical director and had spent more time underwater than most people spent on dry land. If he was worried, there was reason to be. Talk to me, Sarah said, gripping the edge of the console. Last transmission was at 3:10. Dr. Okafor reporting standard readings, nothing unusual. Then, silence. He pulled up the acoustic monitoring data. The habitat's still structurally sound. Life support systems show green across the board, but they're not responding to any communications. Radio, acoustic phone, emergency beacon protocols, nothing. Sarah studied the readouts, her mind racing through possibilities. Equipment failure was always a risk, but multiple redundant systems failing simultaneously, that was virtually impossible. Who's down there right now? Okafor, Yamamoto, Torres, and Petrov. Four of the world's leading marine biologists, including Elena Torres, who at 29 was already revolutionizing our understanding of deep-sea ecosystems. Sarah had handpicked each of them for this mission. The thought of something happening to them made her stomach clench. We need to send down the ROV, she said. Marcus shook his head. In this weather, the waves are only getting worse. We risk losing the ROV entirely, and if something has gone wrong down there, we'll need it for any rescue attempt. Then what do you suggest? He met her eyes, and she saw the answer there before he spoke. Someone goes down in the submersible, makes visual contact, assesses the situation. The Meridian carried a two-person research submersible, the Challenger, rated for depths up to 3,000 feet. Sarah had made dozens of dives in her career, but never in conditions like this. The surface swells made launch dangerous even in calm weather. In a building storm, it was bordering on suicidal. I'll go, she said. Sarah. Those are my people down there, Marcus. I'm going. He studied her for a long moment, then nodded. I'll pilot. If we're doing this, we're doing it right. 40 minutes later, Sarah was sealed inside the Challenger's cramped titanium sphere, the sound of her own breathing loud in her ears. Marcus sat beside her, his hands steady on the controls as the crane lifted them over the churning black water. Ready? He asked. Before she could answer, the submersible dropped free, and they plunged into the ocean. The world turned to darkness almost immediately. The surface lights of the Meridian faded to a distant glow, then vanished entirely as they descended. Marcus activated the submersible's external lights, and suddenly they were suspended in a column of illuminated water, particles drifting past like snow. Passing 200 feet, Marcus reported, his voice calm and professional. Rate of descent nominal. Sarah checked the acoustic readings, hoping against hope for some signal from the habitat below. Nothing, just the groan and ping of the ocean around them, the weight of water pressing in from all sides. At 400 feet, something changed. You seeing this? Marcus asked, pointing at the depth sounder. Sarah leaned forward. The display showed a large object descending rapidly from below, something big, moving fast. Whale, she suggested, though she didn't believe it. No whale. made her blood run cold. That was a submersible, she said. Military grade, from the looks of it. Chinese, maybe Russian. They stared at each other in the close confines of the sphere. The implications were staggering. This was international waters, but barely. Territorial disputes over deep-sea resources had been escalating for years. If another nation was operating in the area, if they'd made contact with the habitat. Keep going, Sarah said. We need to reach them. The descent continued in tense silence. At 700 feet, the habitat should have been visible on their instruments. It wasn't there. Marcus, Sarah said carefully, are you sure we're in the right position? GPS coordinates are exact. We should be, he stopped, staring at his screens. Oh, Jesus. He adjusted their trajectory, and suddenly the forward lights illuminated a scene of devastation. The habitat module was there, but it had been wrenched free of its anchor cables. It sat at a severe angle on the sloping seafloor, one wall clearly buckled from impact. Debris floated around it like leaves in a storm drain. Emergency ascent protocols, Marcus said immediately. They would have triggered emergency ascent if the anchors failed. So why is it still down here? Sarah already knew the answer, and it terrified her. Because someone didn't want it to surface. They brought the Challenger alongside the habitat, Marcus maneuvering with expert precision despite the current. Sarah activated the external cameras, sweeping them across the habitat's hull. That's when she saw the exterior hatch, the one that should have been sealed from the inside, standing open. Someone got out, she breathed. Or something got in. Sarah unstrapped from her seat, moving to the submersible's small viewport. Through the reinforced glass, she could see into the habitat's interior. Emergency lighting cast everything in a sickly green glow. Equipment floated in zero gravity, papers and personal items drifting like ghosts. But no people, no bodies. There, Marcus said, pointing to movement in the shadows. A figure emerged from the habitat's interior, moving with the slow, deliberate motions required in a survival suit. The person reached the open hatch and looked directly at the submersible. Even through the faceplate distortion, Sarah recognized Dr. Elena Torres. She was waving frantically, gesturing upward with urgent, desperate motions. Then she pointed behind her, into the darkness of the habitat, and made a cutting motion across her throat. Danger! Don't come in. Sarah grabbed the acoustic communicator. Elena, this is Sarah. We're here to get you out. Where are the others? Static crackled, then Elena's voice came through, distorted but understandable. Can't, they're watching. Chinese sub. Took Okafor and Yamamoto. Petrov's dead. Data. They wanted the data. Sarah's mind reeled. What data? The vents, thermal readings. We found something, military importance. They killed Petrov when he wouldn't. The transmission cut off. Through the viewport, Sarah saw Elena suddenly jerk backward, pulled by something unseen. Then another figure appeared in the hatch, a diver in military gear, clearly not one of their crew. Marcus, get us out of here. But it was too late. A massive shape loomed out of the darkness, the submarine they'd seen earlier, now hovering above them like a predatory shark. Lights blazed across the Challenger, blinding in their intensity. The acoustic communicator crackled to life, a new voice speaking in heavily accented English. Research vessel Meridian, you will surface immediately and maintain radio silence. Your crew members will be returned to you unharmed if you comply. Attempt any rescue operation, and they will be executed. You have 10 minutes to begin ascent. Sarah looked at Marcus. 10 minutes to decide whether to abandon two of her colleagues to an uncertain fate, or risk all their lives in a confrontation they couldn't possibly win, 800 feet below the surface, with a tropical storm raging above. What did Elena mean about the vents? Marcus asked quietly. Sarah pulled up her tablet, accessing the last data transmission from the habitat before the blackout. Her hands trembled as she scrolled through thermal imaging scans of a newly discovered hydrothermal vent system. And there it was, hidden in the geological data, buried in temperature gradients and mineral compositions. A signature that could only mean one thing. Rare earth elements, the kind used in advanced military operations that would make this site worth billions. Maybe more. They found a resource deposit, she said. And someone else wants it badly enough to kill for it. 5 minutes, the voice on the communicator said. Marcus began the ascent sequence. We'll surface, we'll get help, we'll come back for them. They could be dead by then. They'll definitely be dead if we don't make it back to tell anyone what happened. Sarah knew he was right. But as the Challenger began to rise, leaving the habitat and its mysteries behind, she also knew that this was far from over. Above them, the storm waited. Below, 2 of her colleagues were prisoners of a foreign power willing to commit murder to protect their secrets. The Challenger broke the surface 28 minutes later, emerging into 30-foot seas and winds that screamed like demons. The crew of the Meridian hauled them aboard, and Sarah stumbled onto the deck, soaked and shaking. "Get us out of here," she told the captain. "Full speed, maximum distance from this position." "What about the others?" "They're gone. For now." She grabbed his arm. "And if we don't move right now, we'll be gone too." The Meridian's engines roared to life, and they fled into the storm. Behind them, the deep blue void kept its secrets, along with 2 hostages and 1 dead scientist. Sarah stood at the stern, watching the churning wake, her mind already working on how to mount a rescue mission that wouldn't start an international incident. The satellite phone in her pocket buzzed. She pulled it out, saw an unknown number. Against her better judgment, she answered. Elena Torres's voice, strained and terrified. "Sarah, they're taking us to their research station, coordinates 12.7 north, 125.3 east. They think the data's encrypted, but it's not. It's on Yamamoto's personal drive. They're going to torture him until he gives it up. You have to." The line went dead. Sarah looked at Marcus, who had heard everything. The coordinates Elena had given them were 50 miles southeast. Deeper water, more remote, far from any shipping lanes. "We can't," Marcus said. "We're 4 civilian researchers and a cargo crew. They have a submarine and trained military personnel. So what do we do? Just leave them?" "We call this in. US Navy, Coast Guard, whoever will listen. And by the time anyone responds, Yamamoto's been tortured and Elena's been eliminated as a witness." Sarah stared out at the black water. "No, there has to be another way." She spent the next hour in the communications room, making encrypted calls to contacts she'd built over 15 years in deep-sea research. Oceanographers who'd worked with naval intelligence, engineers who designed submarine detection systems, a former colleague who now worked for a private maritime security firm. By dawn, she had a plan. It was insane. It probably wouldn't work, but it was all they had. "The storm's going to pass over the coordinates Elena gave us in about 6 hours, she told the assembled crew. "That's our window. The Chinese station won't be able to launch or receive any vessels in that weather. They'll be buttoned up, riding it out." "And what are we supposed to do?" the captain asked. "Storm the facility?" "No, we create a diversion." She laid out the plan. The Meridian carried emergency transponders designed to mimic the signal of a research vessel in distress. If they deployed 3 of them in a triangle pattern around the Chinese station, it would look like multiple vessels converging on the area. Possibly a rescue operation, possibly something else. While they're focused on the transponders, we take the Challenger in under the storm noise. The weather will mask our approach. We extract our people and get out before they know what's happening. And if they catch us, then we're all prisoners. Sarah looked around the room. "I can't order anyone to risk this, but I'm going, with or without help." Marcus stood. "I'll pilot." One by one, the others volunteered. The captain, the engineer, even the ship's cook, everyone who could contribute to the mission. Sarah felt a surge of gratitude and terror in equal measure. 6 hours later, she was back in the Challenger, Marcus at the controls, descending through the worst storm she'd ever experienced. The submersible was tossed like a toy, the surface swells reaching heights that made their earlier dive look calm. But once they passed 200 feet, the chaos faded to a dull roar. The Chinese research station appeared on sonar at 600 feet, a modular facility much larger than their habitat had been, with like submarine docking ports and extensive sensor arrays. Transponders deployed. Came the message from the Meridian. They're active. Almost immediately, Sarah saw activity around the station. Lights flared, external cameras panned and searched. Through the acoustic monitoring system, she could hear confused chatter in Mandarin. "Now," Marcus whispered, and guided the Challenger toward what looked like an equipment access hatch on the station's lower level. The next 15 minutes were the longest of Sarah's life. They matched pressure with the airlock, hoping the automated systems wouldn't register an unauthorized entry. Marcus had hacked together an access code using leaked engineering specifications of similar Chinese installations, a 1 in 100 chance of working. The hatch opened. They were in. Sarah suited up in record time, carrying a waterproof emergency beacon and a diving knife that seemed laughably inadequate for what they were attempting. She cycled through the interior airlock, emerging into a corridor that could have been on any research station in the world. Sterile white walls, fluorescent lighting, the hum of life support systems. She moved quickly, following the mental map she'd memorized. The station wasn't large. There were only so many places they could be holding prisoners. She checked 3 compartments before she found them. Yamamoto and Elena were locked in what appeared to be a storage room, both in poor condition but alive. Yamamoto's face was bruised, one eye swollen shut. Elena had a cut on her forehead that had bled down her face and dried in rust-colored streaks. "Sarah," Elena breathed. "You came. Did you think I wouldn't?" Sarah worked on the electronic lock, her hands shaking. "Where's Petrov's body?" "They kept it. Evidence," they said. Elena's voice was hollow. "They killed him right in front of us. Shot him when he tried to destroy the data drives." The lock clicked open. "We need to move. Now." They made it halfway back to the airlock before the alarm started. "Run!" Sarah shouted, but Yamamoto stumbled, his injuries slowing him down. Elena looped his arm over her shoulder, supporting his weight as they staggered down the corridor. Behind them, Sarah heard shouting, footsteps pounding on metal floors. They reached the airlock, and she spun to hold the door while Elena and Yamamoto cycled through. A figure appeared at the end of the corridor, the same military diver she'd seen at the habitat, now out of his suit, wearing tactical gear and carrying a weapon. He raised it, and Sarah dove aside as the wall behind her exploded in sparks. In the confined space, the sound was deafening. She scrambled through the airlock door as another shot ricocheted off the frame inches from her head. The door sealed. Through the viewport, she saw the diver slam his fist against the glass, his face contorted with rage. They made it back to the Challenger, all 3 of them crammed into a space designed for 2. Marcus didn't wait for confirmation. He blew the docking seals and kicked the thrusters to maximum. The submersible shot away from the station like a cork from a bottle, spinning wildly until Marcus regained control. Behind them, Sarah saw lights flaring through the dark water. The Chinese facility scrambling to respond, but it was too late. They surfaced into the storm's full fury, waves the size of buildings threatening to capsize them before the Meridian could get a line attached. But the crew worked with desperate efficiency, and minutes later they were hauled aboard, all of them alive. As the Meridian fled at full speed, Sarah stood on the bridge with Elena and Yamamoto, watching the storm close in behind them like a curtain. "What now?" Elena asked. Sarah pulled out the personal data drive that Yamamoto had managed to palm to her during their escape, the same drive the Chinese operatives had been willing to kill for. "Now we make sure Petrov didn't die for nothing. We get this to people who can protect it, who can ensure that what you found down there benefits everyone, not just whoever's willing to commit murder." "They'll come after us," Yamamoto said quietly. "We witnessed what happened. We have evidence. Let them come." Sarah's voice was hard. "We have something they don't, the truth, and people willing to fight for it." 3 weeks later, Sarah stood before a joint session committee in Washington, D.C., presenting her findings. The data from the thermal vents had been verified, the rare earth deposits confirmed. An international incident had been narrowly avoided through back-channel negotiations. The Chinese government publicly denied any knowledge of the operation, quietly reprimanded the officers involved, and agreed to joint development of the resource site. Dr. Petrov's body had been returned to his family in Russia. Elena and Yamamoto recovered from their injuries. The Meridian returned to service, though Sarah sometimes caught crew members staring at the sea with a new wariness in their eyes. Late at night, when she couldn't sleep, Sarah would remember those moments in the deep. The darkness pressing in, the weight of the ocean above, the thin margin between life and death. The sea had always been her passion, her calling. Now it was also a reminder that humanity's worst impulses followed us even to the most remote corners of Earth. But it had also shown her something else: courage, loyalty, and the stubborn human refusal to abandon those we care about, even when every rational instinct screamed to run. The ocean kept its secrets. But some secrets, Sarah had learned, were worth dying for. And some were worth living to tell. She stood at her apartment window, looking out at the distant glimmer of Chesapeake Bay, and knew with certainty that she would return to the sea. Not in spite of what had happened, but because of it. The deep called to her still, and she would answer. If you like the story, hit the like button, subscribe for more, and share this story with